Alright guys, so I've had this dwarf caiman here for a little while, and one thing I try to stick to on my channel is just because I own a new animal to try and not make a care video right away. I want to make sure I'm actually good at it and the information that's been passed down to me is actually true, and there he is trying to eat a dead leaf. He does that a lot. He's very excited. He knows what time it is. He knows I'm going to be feeding him. So I want to make this video here because I've seen a lot of videos and I've read a lot of articles that are kind of confusing. They use a lot of big words if they're correct. They use a lot of really complicated stuff and make it a lot harder than it needs to be, or they're just blatantly wrong. So I'm going to start off by just blatantly telling you, fish tank is going to be way too small for your caiman. I don't care if it's a hatchling, they get this big relatively quick. You can check my older videos. I've only had him for a couple months, and he's at least doubled in size. They are a slow-growing animal, but that's compared to other crocodilians, which grow relatively fast. And so this caiman is still a fairly fast-growing animal, but just not quite as fast. So, first things first, your water temperatures. So, a little bit higher than you would keep your regular fish tank, you know, a little bit higher 70s and in the 80s is perfectly fine. To do that, I use that aquarium fish tank heater and a ceramic bulb, which helps a lot, and especially because the filter's right there, so it circulates that freshly warmed up water. I give him a small land area over there, but that's not necessary. That was just for looks. But he's got this raised basking spot. Oh man, he's hungry, so we're just going to feed him right now. And he's very good at tong feeding now because I do it so often with him. And one of his favorite foods are these. I buy these whole shrimp at the Asian Pacific market, and I just deshell them. See if we can get him to jump a little bit. Behave like an alligator for a second. Get his attention with it. Whew. Took it right out of the tongs, already making a big bloody mess out of that whole shrimp. Sometimes I give them to him whole, other times I cut them up. And the reason I deshell them, even though I purchased them as whole shrimp, is simply because he is a small animal still, and it'll be a little bit harsher on his organs and his digestive tract to digest, and he's just putting that thing away. I can never stop watching him feed. It's a little bit harder on their insides, the shells right now. It'll be easier for him to put down an entire shrimp like that when he's maybe 4 or 5 inches longer. So I find that whole prey is still going to be your best option. I know it's difficult with this small of an animal, but with all of my animals, I love whole prey. Especially with monitor lizards, it's very similar with these guys. Whole prey is the way to go. And when they're small, it's difficult, but find a fish market. I don't have quite a fish market. It's called the Asian Pacific market, and they have a fish market inside of it. And you can get anything you want. They sell massive bags of sardines. And I get those. I get bait fish that, well, I consider them bait fish. There's like stewing fish and whatnot there. Anything you can think of, you can get them there. And these are fresh shrimp. I don't know how fresh because I live in Colorado, but it's alive when I buy it. So that's all I know. Another reason I deshell them is because when you do get that kind of shrimp, they're more of a river-esque type thing. They have a horn. It's like a tusk in the middle of their face that they use to defend themselves, and that will impact your animal. See if we can see his teeth real quick. Yeah, look at those little chompers on this guy. He's a monster. He hates me. I love him. It's that kind of relationship. And so I like to keep his basking spot around 86 to 90 is what I generally shoot for. It doesn't really fluctuate all that often. But that's that right there. They do like to bask at a little bit of a cooler temperature. I'm going to sneeze. Oh, goodness. I'm not cutting that out. That was a pretty harsh sneeze. I think I broke a rib. So 86 to 90 and high 70s, mid 80s for the water. And the reason for that is not all caimans are going to be quite like mine right away. Mine loves to spend time in his land area right away when they're young. They are definitely a more terrestrial crocodilian, so they really do appreciate a lot more land than all the others. And so I love it. Every night he comes out and he's just walking around all night. So they really do appreciate a large land area. But the reasoning for warm water is because, like I said, not all of them like to come out right away. Sometimes they take a lot more time to adjust. Ooh, he just regurgitated that a little. He might struggle with this for a minute, but that's okay. Quality video. The reason for the warm water is because if your caiman is a little more shy than usual, he's going to spend all day, every day in the water for a long time. And you might never see him on land. You might never see him in general for the first while if your cage is set up correctly. And the water keeps their body warm because they're not basking. And so it's just an extra bonus. It keeps them nice and calm. Now, when you get your caiman, unless you're shelling out a lot of money for a captive bred animal, it's most likely going to be captive hatched or wild caught. And it might come with a parasite. And it's going to be extremely shy regardless. But the best thing I found with him, because he did come with a parasite, was to not touch him, not do anything, give him the perfect environment, and let his body settle itself out. He came in with some kind of worms or something because he was extremely bloated when I got him, and he would just let me pick him right up. You guys might have seen it in a video of mine. I wasn't too concerned at first, but then when it continued and he never seems to pick back up, I was very concerned. So that is also a big thing with them. If they let you handle them all the time, as soon as you get them, and it's not a captive hatched or captive bred that has been worked with, most likely has some kind of parasite. But don't worry, there's plenty of deworming stuff out there that'll work like magic. But I had great luck with just a perfect environment and leave him alone. I only put food in there once a week when I first got him until he started putting it away regularly. And so what I mean by perfect environment, warm water, warm basking spot. Flowing water actually helps. It just helps them calm down when they're small because they might not be able to reach the bottom of your tank. He can now, but when I first got him, he couldn't, and so he would use the draft to help himself stay afloat. And lots of hiding spots. He's had this massive pot of... Lost my train of thought, guys. Massive pot of pothos. That's a fun word. In his enclosure, since I've had him, and under this basking rock, it's a cave. It's just held up by cinder blocks, and so he can hide down there, he can hide in the plants, and when I first got him, he could hide in that little cave there. Plenty of hiding spots. I tried not to bother him as often as possible, and keep him warm. They're not as difficult to care for as everyone says, but the scary thing is they are a lot meaner than your regular alligator. I do not recommend these as a pet to everyone. I'm not going to be that guy who sits there and tells you I don't recommend these as pets. I own one because I'm better at this than you. I have owned several large monitor lizards. I've been owning big snakes for a very long time, and 100% of them were mean when I got them. I'm very used to the body movements of these animals, and the reason I got a caiman was because I wanted to take it to the next step. I wanted to learn more, and I do think that being versed with large animals, large aggressive animals, is going to help a lot. If you want something like this, get a Savannah monitor. Watch my videos on Savannah monitor care, follow them, and you will be fine, and then progress to this. But if you are experienced, and you know what you're doing, and you will be able to care for this animal when it potentially reaches 5 feet long, see, there he goes, using one of his caves. He might run into his friend. He lives with the clown knifefish. We might see him run away. Oh gosh, that's not the clown knifefish, that's a caiman. Oh, there he is, though. You can kind of see his belly. And there he goes. They're not best friends. They don't fight. If you are versed in these animals, they can be an extremely rewarding pet if you can care for it when it's an adult. And these guys are much, much more aggressive than your alligators. Your American alligators are going to be a lot more relaxed, surprisingly. And they're an even worse pet because they get massive. So all in all, guys, if you are experienced and you feel comfortable and you know you will be able to house this animal properly, care for it, and he still wants more. I might give him another shrimp here off video in a minute. If you feel comfortable, an amazingly rewarding pet. Not all of them end up like mine, but I do believe that the reason mine is so good at feeding and so comfortable with me is because of his setup. He knows he can hide, and he knows I'm not going to touch him. And he also knows that I feed him. They're very intelligent animals, which makes them extremely rewarding. Like I said, he will come up and bite my fingers from here. I put this little slit in here to make maintenance on the plants and his basking spot easier, but he will jump. I keep rambling, guys. If there's something that you have a question about that I didn't touch in this video, let me know. I'll answer it for you, no problem. More or less, I just want to make this video to give people a general basis, and then ask questions, ask me questions, ask everyone questions, do your own research, do so much research. I read things written about these guys in their natural habitat that had nothing to do with keeping them in captivity. I read so much before I got this guy, and I find that to be extremely important, but no amount of research can prepare you for owning a crocodilian. And I see a lot of guys out there who say there's no such thing as a beginner monitor, there's no such thing as a beginner crocodilian, and that's true, but you'll never learn unless you do it. But this is one of the few exceptions in that scenario in my mind. There's no such thing as a beginner monitor, but you need to jump out there and get one. This guy, on the other hand, if you jump out there and you just get one, you're going to have him in a 25-gallon long fish tank, and he's going to get stressed, and he's going to bite your fingers off, or he'll just die from the parasite that you got him with. And like I said, I know I've rambled a lot. I really should start writing down notes before I make these videos. Sometimes ADHD sucks. But, guys, I hope this, if anything, lets you know that there are people out there to answer your questions. I know when I was looking into getting this guy, I could find no one that was posting recent videos of caimans in the past year or 4. That's because they've all died, or they just stopped caring about YouTube, which is equally lame. So, ask questions, guys. I'll be happy to answer them. This is the first care video I've done on him, but there's plenty more videos of him on my channel. So if you enjoyed the video, leave it a like. If you have any questions, I'm glad to answer them. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you next time.